Oh yes, it's exciting times as the London Marathon is only 6 days away. Can't quite believe we're nearly there. And if you're an avid listener to the afternoons, you'll know in the last couple of weeks, we've been doing something really important. Every single week, we give you the top tips as you gear up to London Marathon. It's taking place this Sunday. I'm going to be there with the team live from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. speaking to all of you brilliant people taking part. And joining me in the studio for that last final push, if you will, is our London Marathon expert, Thiruchelvam. He's the founder of Performance Physique. And the good news is he'll be joining us live on Sunday as well to really talk about how it's all gone. But Arj, great to have you back on the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Shay.
It's the final countdown.
Yes, the nerves are starting to kick in for me too.
Well, I mean, you and I are not running it, but here's the difference. I mean, I can give words of encouragement, but you are actually training an array of athletes, runners to take part. How are they feeling these last couple of days?
Well, things are becoming very, very real right now. Even on the walk just into the studio today, I saw a few people with their running gear on, going for little trots, and I thought, you're running it, aren't you? You're about to do that marathon.
Is that the big telltale sign, would you say?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I think I even saw someone coming into the studio today.
No surprises. I'm sure there'll be. It's interesting, though, because there'll be people who just can't wait. They just want to just get to the start line. Yeah. There'll be others who are thinking, I don't know if I'm ready.
100%. Those are the two conversations I've had this week.
Absolutely. So let's delve into that. What would you want to be saying at this point?
I think it's really important that physically we know the things are already in place. We have committed our training for the last 12, 16, whatever number of weeks. You can't change your fitness now. Don't try and do some extra runs. This is your taper time. This is the time to take things nice and easy. But you can influence your nutrition, you can influence your sleep, and you certainly can influence your mindset. That's the big thing when you turn up to the start line. Your mindset.
So what does that mean? At this point, should you still be getting in last minute runs or not? Or should you just trust your training?
Yeah, so ideally you want to do a couple of 20, 30 minute runs between now and Sunday. Maybe Saturday it will be a 15, 20 minute run. The idea is not to be completely rested though. That actually makes it very difficult to be ready and fresh for Sunday. You need to be lightly active, some mobility work, some stretching, no heavy weight lifting this week at all. But then actually thinking, visualizing, getting your mind in the space of what you're going to do on race day.
I'm really excited, right? You and I were there last year, and there's just one point I need to make about this. My gosh, was it piping hot. I mean, there was just no denying how boiling London was last year. And never will I ever complain about the heat, because I've always felt we need it in London. But on London Marathon Day 2025, I really felt for the runners. Pretty much everyone that I was speaking to, you were there at the finish line with me. Some of them were exhausted. Others were just kind of running in disbelief. They hadn't anticipated the heat. Yeah. I think it's still a topic of conversation for this year for many runners.
Absolutely. That is a conversation I've had. A lot of people witnessed I think it was 27 degrees Celsius, the second hottest marathon in London on record last year. And a lot of people have been saying, what happens if that happens again? So far, it's looking like it's going to be about 16 degrees, partly sunny on race day.
Okay.
A million times better. You know, that's not just 11 degrees. Those 11 degrees
count.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's some good news. I'm glad you're sharing that today.
Yeah, it's looking fairly good for most runners. Even though it's not ideal. Ideal would be a couple of degrees colder. You know, as a spectator, I don't want that.
Fair enough.
But when it comes to your hydration and your energy, do not worry. As long as you're utilising every hydration station as you go, every 2 to 3 miles, they're going to be out on the course and fueling. I think there's about 5 or 6 backup fueling stations in addition to what you've got for your energy gels. As long as you're taking on board, you can make sure that you're controlling your risk of dehydration. Whereas last year, 27 degrees, it's just so difficult to exercise.
It was brutal. I mean, I remember specifically meeting with 2 friends at the end of the finish line, and they were both just in tears. They genuinely didn't think they were going to make it through, because although they'd been training, although they'd really worked for this, they felt they had all of the plan ready to go.
Yeah.
And the weather threw them off, and they weren't the only ones, but I just vividly remember them in my mind. They just couldn't even talk because they were just in floods of tears over how hot it was. It was not expected, and that can really throw you off your rhythm when you are doing a marathon.
And that is a great way of introducing the controllables.
Okay.
When we talk about mindset,
Go on.
the things that really disturb us are the things which are unexpected, like that temperature.
Yeah.
So look at everything that you can control over the next few days and on race day. Your nutrition, you can control that. Sleep, a little bit you can control. It depends if you've got young kids.
Yeah.
If you can get a bit of a sleep routine, fantastic. Kit, make sure you've got all your kit out a nice couple of days ahead. Check it over. You don't want any of those things being a surprise. But then when you visualize, we always talk about visualizing success, crossing the finish line, arms go up and you're really celebrating.
Absolutely.
I want you to visualize things going wrong.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's like my worst nightmare. Why would I want to do that, Arj? On the greatest marathon in the world, on that day, you want me to visualise things going wrong?
So, I want you to visualise the worst case scenario for you.
Okay.
You get a cramp in mile 20 or something like that.
What a nightmare.
What you're going to do is you're actually going to be preparing your mind for that to occur. What am I needing to do? Well, I'm going to need to slow down my pace. I might need to do this stretch. I might then need to look for some fuel. And hey presto, on race day, it's not going to happen. But just in case...
I see what you're saying.
You're prepared.
You're kind of geared up for it. You've thought about it.
Exactly that.
As opposed to clearly what happened last year for many was the heat wasn't a consideration. They hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a key important part of advice. What about food, nutrition? Every time I speak to you, you always add this on the agenda. Yeah. And some people just think, nah, it's all good. I'll have as much pasta as I want. But I know even within that, you've always said there's got to be a plan.
Yeah, exactly. So first and foremost, it's a marathon. You do need to fuel it during the race and in the days leading up to
it.
There's been a lot of confounding information being released over the last few days. You do need to. To be sensible, to be safe, you need to take on board carbohydrate. These are the brown, beigey foods, a lot of things that children love, sweets. Mm-hmm. The 2 days prior, eating enormous volumes. The actual true volume, the actual elites use is 10 to 12 grams per kilo of body mass. Maybe not so much as that.
Okay.
But you do need to make an effort to have lots of carbohydrate and low amounts of fat in the 2 days preceding.
Okay.
And on the morning of your race.
Have a big breakfast.
Big carby breakfast.
That's music to my ears, mate. Do that most days.
We probably should prepare as well. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And you also want to make sure that you're starting that about 2 to 3 hours before race time.
Okay.
With some fluids.
Can I pick up on a point you just made, however? 'Cause I want to understand, what are we saying here? You said in recent days there's been kind of like different messages. Are we talking about social media?
Yes, we are talking about
what
social media.
What have you found? You are, for our listeners who don't know, you're the founder of Performance Physique. You're a personal trainer. You've got a lot of strong background with working with high-class elite athletes. So essentially, you know what you're talking about. We can't always do that kind of background checks on people we find on social media. What have you seen?
Unfortunately, some influencers have talked about the not necessarily being the need to fuel whilst you do a marathon or do a carbohydrate load, and even talk about not necessarily hydrating during a marathon.
Really?
These are really dangerous messages.
Okay.
Yes, there's always going to be anomalies where they go out and do these things and they're fine. But as a general message to the population who are doing this, you need to fuel during the marathon. You definitely need to hydrate, because even dehydration places a significant stress on your heart. Mm-hmm. And in the 2 days preceding, at least 1 day preceding, take on board some carbohydrate.
Really glad you're here to talk about that, because part of this is debunking those myths. When people are seeing things on social media, we say it all the time already in London, you never quite know what you can fact check or not. So really appreciate that. What are the other elements you wanted to focus on just finally then, Arj?
I think when we're going to that race line, the nerves are going to be buzzing, the adrenaline is buzzing. The first thing you want to do is you want to race off from the start.
You go as fast as you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Thinking it's a 100-metre sprint. Oh, no.
Exactly. If I can encourage anyone listening just to put the brakes on ever so slightly.
Okay.
Be conservative in the first half of the marathon.
Right.
If things are feeling great, then by all means, step on it a little bit and start accelerating.
So we're taking what, like the first, when you say first half, you're saying the first 12, 13, 14 miles?
Yeah, so generally I say treat the first 5 kilometres as your warm-up to the actual run. And then you've got 37 kilometres of a marathon to do.
Blimey.
So then up to about 20 kilometers, if things are feeling good and you want to accelerate, go for it. If things aren't, then you make a race day decision of, I'm just going to enjoy the marathon, which is in the best city in the world with the best supporting fans.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to make the most of the day.
Okay.
But if you look at the target time that you've been working towards, if you're an inexperienced marathon, maybe this is your first or second marathon, just take an even split all the way there. If maybe you're a bit more experienced, you've done a few of these before, then you can look at what's negative splitting. And that basically means you run that second half a little bit faster than the first half. But the overall message, first 5 kilometers, be sensible.
I'm going to say the next, a final point with a total pinch of salt, because I know I've never run a marathon. So people might be listening to me and thinking, Shay, just shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. However, I have had the very good fortune of attending London Marathon a number of times over the decades, and the last 2 years broadcasting from it. And I just want your take as somebody who is working with the athletes, with the runners, and what you think. And I would have said the final point for London Marathon, that the last 3 kind of words is just enjoy it.
Yes.
Can I say that?
Yes. You have to enjoy it. It is something you've worked ever so hard for. And it is something that potentially you'll never get to experience again, and very few people do get to experience. The London Marathon is phenomenal, and the people of London are what make it so special.
So just enjoy it.
Just enjoy it.
You're going to be with me there at the London Marathon.
Yes,
I know part of that for us is to get your thoughts, and also to talk about the weeks and days after and the recovery of it. So looking forward to seeing you there. If anyone wants details for yourself as well, Arj, give us social media details, please.
Yeah, just look for @performance_physique, or just Google Performance Physique and my smiley face pops up.
Look forward to seeing you on Sunday. Thank you so much, Arj.
Likewise, thank you.
And genuinely from the team, really appreciate all of your expert advice. It's been very appreciated. Arj Thiruchelvam there on BBC Radio London, founder of Performance Physique. And as he's mentioned, head to his website for more details.